Hey, welcome to Mammoth Sound Studio. Come on in and let me show you around the place. We're going to start up here in the green room. This is obviously a space for artists to just hang out during sessions, to relax, fridge for drinks and stuff. I have like some pre-production meetings and things in here as well. And the great thing about this space is that it's got a direct line of vision straight into the live room and through into the control room as well, and then the vocal booth beyond, as you'll see as I take you around the place. Dolby Atmos certified plaque up on the wall there, very important. Welcome to my studio, Mammoth Sound Studio, here in the beautiful town of Cáceres in Spain. It's a pleasure to have you here. It's going to be a pleasure to show you around the place, show you how everything's connected and how I route things and move things around in my computer. I've been in this studio since 2022. I moved to Spain in 2021, bought up this empty commercial space, and I built this recording studio in here, opened in September of 2022. So less than 3 years that I've been open here. So this is my beautiful live room. It's 25 meters square. It's more or less exactly square, 5 by 5, 3 meter ceiling, 3 meter high, so lots of headroom. Genuine hardwood floor. It's a hardwood called sucupira, which is, I believe, from South America, which gives really nice acoustics, especially for natural acoustic instruments, strings, wind, those sorts of things, but also drums and piano sound amazing in this space. Acoustically, got this kind of faux stone wall going on, which is basically serving as diffusion for the space. So that's diffusing sound all over the place. Panels on the ceiling, absorption across 2 walls, 1 live wall this side where the window through to the control room is, and bass traps across 3 corners, 1, 2, and 3. And that gives me a really nice, even acoustic in this space without any build-ups. It gives me a really beautiful, fairly flat, but still with some life environment to record in, which is great. We'll come back in here in a moment, but let's take you through to the control room and we'll see there now. Come on through. So here is the control room. Control room is 18 meters square. It's more or less 6 by 3. Again, 3 meter high ceiling. The acoustic in here is more controlled, much deader, much drier. So absorption across 2 full walls and the ceiling. Some diffusion again on the rear wall. And that is my space. As you can see, full Dolby Atmos rig in here, 714 rig, so 7 monitors on the natural plane, the 0.1 for the sub channel, the LFE channel, and 4 in the ceiling. And then through here is my vocal booth, ISO cabin, whatever you want to call it. So I use this space for recording vocals or for isolating guitar amps, guitar cabs, those sorts of things to give me more control over the recording. But it's just a small, super dead, super tight space for recording vocals and individual things. Whilst we're in here, I might as well give you a quick rundown of some of the kit that I've got in here. So I've got an array of compressors, mostly down there. Some DBX compressors, a company called Pro Replicas, who are based in Poland, who do proper replica equipment based on the original electronic specs of really desirable bits of gear. So a couple of 1176s down there. Up here, some more compressors and some distortion, Heritage Audio, Tube Core, SSL Fusion, Fermionic Culture up the top. Monitor amp across the top here, speaker controller, and then over here I've got all of my preamps and my patch bay. So I've got 32 channels of pre, so I can record up to 32 simultaneous channels. Neve, Focusrite and Audient. All of my patch bays here, all on 1/4 inch. Down here I've got some EQP equalizers. They've got tube upgrades in those, so they sound much nicer than the cost versions. Headphone distribution, which we'll talk about. A to D conversion with the Antelope Audio Galaxy 32 down there. Some more EQs down here. Kemper, Sansamp, and some LA2As up there. And then as we follow the room round, full 88 key weighted MIDI keyboard from Native Instruments, mic locker at the back, and then an array of my guitars from acoustics and nylons through to 335 style, P-bass, 5-string, baritone, my 8-string, and a Les Paul, and a Strat and a Telly. That's the full tour. I've been a teacher professionally for many years. I taught at the Brit School in London, in South London, taught loads of now really successful musicians. Lola Young, most recently, has just been blowing up all over the place. Ray as well. I taught Rex Orange County, Cat Burns, Olivia Dean, some really successful artists of today, who I was fortunate enough to teach back when I was working in London. So educating and contributing and helping people develop has always been something that I'm passionate about, that I really love, and to that end, that's why I started creating educational content online and putting some stuff out for free, was because I wanted to keep doing that when I left from teaching in kind of schools. And I ended up writing a book, which I have here, which was published a couple of years ago, which is all about becoming a competent music producer. It's all about learning music production from scratch the right way. So what we're going to do now is go back around the studio. I'm going to show you how everything works and how I use this space to make music. So we're back in my live room. I'm going to talk you through exactly how the whole place is kind of wired up, and show you how I move signals around the place. So I've got 2 patch bays in my live room. I've got one down here, and one just the opposite side of the room, just down behind my grand piano down here. They're identical, but I'm going to show you what's going on this one over here, because we can access it a little bit more easily. So here's my patch bay. I have over here 16 channels of sends. So as you can see, most of those are patched up at the moment because I was doing a drum recording. So I've got 16 send channels, and then I've got 6 return channels as well. I've then also got 2 speaker cable returns, meaning that I can put guitar cabs in here and have the heads in the control room with me and send the signal through the speaker cables into cabinets in here. And I've also got this Ethernet slot, which is being used to feed my Behringer PowerPlay headphone system. That's a closed circuit. That's only a circuit for that Behringer system. There's nothing else on that because it requires its own isolated circuit. If you're not familiar with that Behringer system, it's basically a system where, let me show you. These are the monitor controllers over here. So I can give each musician one of these pads, if you like, and I can send them up to 16 individual channels, and they have control over their own mix independently, which basically means that we save a whole load of time not having to worry about setting up individual monitor mixes for musicians, because they can dial that stuff in themselves, which is really useful. So I can run them off of there, and of course off of the other patch bay, the other side of the room. I've also got normal network points hidden down behind my snare drum rack in the power sockets there. So if I need to connect, for internet or need actual network access, then I've got that down there. So we're going to come down into my vocal booth in here. It's It's a small space, but actually in terms of vocal booths, it's quite roomy. I've been in much smaller. Do come on in and join me down here, where I've got obviously another little patch bay. I have up to 4 sends from here, and also 2 other analog returns should I need them. Of course, the PowerPlay headphone circuit, and I've got 2 more speaker cable returns, so I can isolate guitar cabinets in here with the heads in the control room if I need to do that. So that's this space. We're going to go check out the patch bay and everything in the control room so we can see how we move sound around. So all of those patch bays, the 2 in the live room, the 1 in the green room, and the 1 in the cabin, they all come into my patch bay here. So basically what I've got is the top row is the first 16 from in the live room, and then I've got 8 and 8, which is the second patch bay from the live room. So those are those 32 sends that I've got coming through. My first 8 are all half normaled to my Neve pre's. So half normaled meaning that if there's no connection in here, then the signal will flow directly in without needing a patch cable. They go into the mic ins of the Neve pre, and then the next 8 are half normaled into the line inputs of the Neve here. Then I've got 8 channels half normaled into the mic ins of the ISA up here, and the next 8 are half normaled into the Audient up here, which basically means that I can patch into any of these preamps without needing necessarily to put a patch cable in here. And obviously if I need to move things around, then I can do so. Then I've got all of the I/O for my Galaxy 32 basically in this strip here. So I'm using the first 24 inputs, the analog inputs of the Galaxy 32. I'm not using the last 8 currently, but basically they're all half normaled. So the 8 outputs from the Neve are going into 1 to 8. The 8 outputs from the ISA are going into 9 to 16, and the 8 from the Audient are going into 17 to 24. So I've got all of those outputs from the pre's into the Galaxy 32 all half normaled. Obviously what that means is that if I want to patch in any hardware, once I've got it patched into the pre that I want, say I'm in output 4 here, I can just come out of the output of that pre into a compressor here, for example, out of the compressor and back into the input on the Galaxy 32. So I'm just coming straight out of the analog output 17 to 32 of the Galaxy, going straight into the inputs of the PowerPlay system for monitoring, which is then being distributed through these Cat5 cables into those 4 patch points that I've got around the studio. I also have a couple of other little quirks. So you'll see that I've got this extra set of 8 channels down here on this Octo pre. So I've got my talkback microphone going through there. That is what I'm feeding the speakers from in the control room, for example. Right, we're going to jump into the computer and we'll pull up the Galaxy 32 control panel, and I'll show you how some stuff is routed and moved about in that before showing you how I get the sound out and move it around back in this space. So let's do that now. Okay, so here I am in the Galaxy 32 control panel. I'm going to take you around how this is kind of wired up. So you'll see in my line inputs here, the top line, this is where all my pre's are coming in. So my 8 Neve pre's, my 8 ISA pre's from the Focusrite, and my 8 Audient pre's. Then I've got my talkback channel coming in here, channel 25. So that's all of my inputs. All of those are going 1 through 25 into the DAW. I've also got all of the AFX channels here, through which I can route stuff in and out directly from the DAW. So I can go out from the DAW outputs directly in and out of these. And I've also got the mic emulations patched through these AFX channels remotely, virtually in the control panel here. Now, what I'm loving about this setup for my workflow is that I can have pre-configured settings that I can switch between with my MRC controller down here on my desk, my monitor controller. This thing is absolutely awesome. It is very, very simple, but very effective. So over on the left-hand side here, of course, I've got all of the different speakers that I've got in my room. It's configurable up to a 916 configuration, so the maximum for Atmos. My room is 714, so obviously within that spec. But I can have my presets up on this bank. So if I'm working on an Atmos mix, my Atmos preset is on channel A there. So I hit channel A, the control panel has a little think about it, and it goes, yeah, let me pull up your channel A presets, and then it sends the signals that I need to all of the channels, all of the speakers that I've got in that configuration. What it also does is it changes a number of different routing things in here. So it's routing, therefore, all of my surround feeds within the control panel, and it's sending the binaural mix that I get from the Dolby Atmos renderer, which is then coming into my headphone mix here, which is being sent to my headphone amp here. We'll talk about that a little bit more in just a moment. But it means that if I go into the surround window in the control panel here, I've got all of my speaker calibration, which was done officially by Dolby in the session there. So each speaker has its own individual calibration for my room. If I were to not be working in Atmos, if I'm just working on a normal stereo song, I can hit B on my MRC here, and it'll go, okay, you want your B configuration, which is a 2.1 configuration. So it'll just give me the left and right channel and the sub-channel, the LFE channel, which is displayed straight up on here. Obviously, I've got the bass management engaged, which is all part of the preset. But if I go back into the routing here, you'll see that now the headphones, which would normally be which for the Atmos configuration would be 17, 18 coming from the renderer, is 1 and 2. So that's just taking the stereo output straight from the DAW and sending that to 1 and 2, which is coming here into my headphone mix. So even the feed that I'm getting to headphones is being adjusted dependent upon the preset that I've got here. I've also got a secondary and a tertiary set of monitors set up here. So I've got a pair of Yamaha HS8s and a pair of Antone mix cubes, and they're set up as 2.0 configurations on channel C and channel D. So if I want to reference on the Yamahas, I hit C down here. If I want the mix cubes, I hit D down here. And they're all evenly gain matched so that the perceived loudness is more or less the same. The Yamahas have their own speaker configuration on them as well with their own tunings. So everything that I need in order to have a really kind of smooth workflow, whether I'm working in Atmos or whether I'm working in stereo, whether I need a binaural headphone mix, whether I need regular stereo headphone mix, is all here pre-programmed into my control panel without me even need to think about it anymore, which is amazing. So the last thing that I've got going on in my configuration is that I use this plugin called Sphere. This is not the most recent version of Sphere because they've recently moved to a subscription model. This is a standalone license that I purchased, but I haven't moved on to the subscription model. But this basically allows me to tell my whole system where I want any sound to be routed, which is incredibly helpful. Let me explain. So on the left-hand side here, this is the inputs side of the software. You'll see at the moment, it is taking its feed direct from Logic Pro. I do all of my recording and mixing in stereo in Logic Pro, which is obviously a 2.0 system. You mix in stereo. So the Logic output is set to a device here which is the Sphere 64 mono in this case. So Logic is sending out to that virtual device, the Sphere 62 mono here, which is then being routed to as many different outputs as I want. So it's firstly on this main send being sent to my Galaxy 32 for all of the 32 outputs that I want, which therefore includes the main stereo mix, which is coming to my headphone amp. Then I've also got a second feed, which is my Olo X1s, because I've got a pair of Olo X1 headphones that have their own speaker calibration. So on this output, I therefore have the plugin with my calibration for my headphones on here. So that is the calibration for these specific headphones. And that is also being sent straight to my headphone amplifier out of a different send here. But I'm also, thirdly, sending the stereo mix out to the Claret up there, because I've got two headphone sends out there. So if I've got clients here and I'm referencing on headphones, they can have a pair of headphones there without me needing to worry that I'm giving them a €600 pair of headphones or even a €2,000 pair of headphones, which are the two that I'll use to reference, whether it's the headphone 2s from Head Audio or whether it's the Olo Audio X1s. These are the two pairs of headphones that I'll use as my reference headphones. And it also is even sending out to my AirPod Pros. So when I've got my AirPod Pros open and connected, it'll automatically send that mix straight to my AirPod 2s as well. So I can hear the mix out of the full system. I can flick between my different reference monitors, my Yamahas, my Avantones, my Head Audio monitors. I've got my two different sets of speaker calibrations, speakers up, headphones up there for clients and AirPods, which is so helpful. It gives me all of the flexibility that I need. A couple of other things that I want to show you before I wrap up this kind of tour. So two other plugins that I have always on my sessions ready to go. The first one is this one called Decibel. It's from Process Audio. This is always on my stereo output, and this is a completely configurable metering section, should I say, which is being sent direct to the iPad that I have down here. It can send it via USB, which is how it's connected right now, or it can send it over Wi-Fi as well. You just chuck in the IP that the app gives you into the plugin, and I can adjust any of these meters according to what I want to see on my iPad down here, which is awesome, because what it means is that I can always have any of the meters that I need up in front of me without having to pull up a metering plugin on the screen. So I've got my peak meters, I've got VU meters, I've got loudness meters, I've got correlation meters, I've got everything that I could possibly need always there in front of me, which is such a cool tool. And the other thing that I always have on my sessions is this plugin, which is called Mix to Mobile. Mix to Mobile works congruently with an app that you have on your mobile phone. They obviously come together, and what it means is, if I pull up the app here, what it means is that I can stream in real time the feed that I'm getting straight from the door, straight to my mobile phone. Now I actually have it in two instances here because I need to change my preset here. But you'll see on my phone, I've got two instances of Mammoth Sound Studio Stream. If I just hit start here on my phone, start listening, then this now says one connected listener. So I can hear straight out of my mobile phone, as all the kids on the bus will, what it's going to sound like, which is these days a really important metric. You'll see there's two connections there because the other one is in my Sphere controller, which I'm guessing I have set up on these headphone outputs here. There we go, there's that plugin, and there is my stream coming straight out of my headphone outputs coming straight to my phone. So I can stream, literally mute all of the outputs and stream the track straight from my DAW straight to my phone, which is such a time saver. Saves all of that having to export a version, stick it onto your phone, listen on all that back and forth, which is a pain in the backside. So that just about wraps up this little tour of my studio. Thanks so much for joining me on the journey. I hope it's been insightful. And if you have any audio needs whatsoever, do give me a shout.